What's up, amazing people? YouTube TJ here again, as promised, with my full review of the iPad Pro 2018 model. You guys knew this was coming. So, with this new update, I mean, this is just a massive update that Apple gave us with these iPad Pros, and I could not be more excited to get my hands on this than I did because, I had gone without an iPad for about 2 months. So when I got this on launch day, I was super excited, and I wanted to take at least a week and a half or so to really dive in and do my thorough testing as I always do. And let me tell you guys, it has been an absolute delight in most ways using this 11-inch iPad Pro, and I'll explain later on why I do feel this is the ideal size still. And I'll also give you guys some concerns I have, and you might be like, what kind of concerns? But it's nothing to be too scared about. Just some concerns I have, and I think that as potential iPad buyers out there, you guys do need to know and perhaps think about this moving ahead for the future of the iPad Pro. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. In terms of hardware design, Apple took an entirely new approach with the 2018 iPad Pros. So, particularly for the 11-inch model, Apple kept the same overall footprint of the 10.5-inch iPad Pros while increasing the screen size slightly so that it fills up the entire surface of the device, which is really nice. I find that it is just the ideal display size. And I was actually very happy with the 10.5-inch display from last year, but this size is just even better. And it's still not as humongous as the 12.9-inch. And I will say that, and I know some people will disagree with me on this, but I still feel that the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is just too large as something that you're going to use every day, constantly, as both a casual iPad and a productive device. Now, let me be absolutely clear on that. Again, that's as both a casual iPad, meaning just something that you're using for content streaming and things of that nature, maybe some social media, and also some productive work, such as, I don't know, using Microsoft Office or Sketchbook or Adobe or something like that. But you still want that portability. I'm a believer that the 11-inch size is still the ideal model. So that being said, that both new iPad models have the Apple calls it the liquid retina display. It's just a gimmicky way of saying a slightly better display. Now, again, this is not OLED. Don't be confused if you know of, of course, the iPhone XS Max. And those models, really the iPhone 10 as well, have the OLED displays. They have not carried those over to the iPad Pros yet. And I would argue that I don't know if Apple ever really should do that, because these displays are so stunning as they are. Is it really going to be necessary to have that implication on the battery life alone? When the displays are already so stunning? That's just my opinion. So, about the display in particular, it has a 2388 by 1668 resolution, which totals out to 264 pixels per inch. It has the same awesome ProMotion technology from the last iPads, which of course just means it has 120 Hz refresh rate. It has a wide-color display. It has a two-tone display. Which, I'm not really crazy about two-tone personally, but it's there. Of course, an anti-reflective coating, and it has 1.8% reflectivity. Now, what that means is that you're going to get a stunning viewing experience regardless of your lighting situation, and that is one of the best things when you look at the quality of these displays that Apple produces on these iPads. And of course, the other key thing too is 600 nits of brightness. Now, compare that to something like the 300 nits of brightness on the new 2018 MacBook Air, and it does make you go, it makes you think, I wonder what's the value proposition when it comes to investing in something like that MacBook Air or should you invest in something like either model of these iPad Pros that come jam-packed with this awesome technology, and they're priced about the same, honestly. So it's an interesting question. But that is a quick look at the display alone, and of course there's also the performance. I'll show you that as well. So of course, going to Geekbench, the multi-core score is a beast. The A12X Bionic chip is just incredible. We are talking almost equal performance to a 15-inch MacBook Pro. That's just crazy. Now, of course, you could argue, oh, these are ARM processors, something like that, but it still goes without saying that these are just powerhouses of iPads. And as I'll discuss later in the video, it's unfortunate that it is somewhat constrained by iOS, because this is just a beast of a device. And again, the 11-inch and 12.9-inch models, just for the sake of clarity, remember they don't have the same internals, so the same A12X Bionic. The only difference in internals would be for the 1 terabyte 12.9-inch model, which is ungodly expensive, by the way, but you do get 6 gigabytes of RAM compared to the 4 gigabytes that you get in any other model of these iPad Pros. So there's always that as well. The 2018 iPad Pros feature 2 significant new features that will change how you interact with your iPad. The first being tap to wake, which is extremely handy, so you don't have to be hunting for the power button every time you go to turn on your device. And the second, of course, being Face ID, which is carried over from the iPhone 10, 10s Max, 10s, things like that. But most significantly, those 2 features together fundamentally change how you access and interact with your new iPad Pros, and I am so glad that Apple brought those 2 features to the iPad. Another key hardware change is the inclusion of USB-C instead of Apple's longtime Lightning connection. Now, that is something that will have some pretty long-term implications on accessories and compatibility, and overall, I'm excited for the future possibilities of USB-C on the iPad, but as I'll discuss a little bit later, I also have some short-term concerns about the usability and compatibility with USB-C, and I kind of wish Apple would stop playing what I call baby games with its consumers, especially its pro consumers, and just give us what we want. But the USB-C connection is there, and I'm glad that Apple did so. There is now a camera bump, and it is the same camera from the iPhone XS and XS Max, but it is worth noting that there is no optical image stabilization, which Apple unfortunately had to remove due to the thickness, or I guess you could say the thinness, of the iPad. So that is unfortunate, but besides the lack of OIS, everything else is taking over from the iPhone XS Max and XS cameras. The new Apple Pencil connection adds a much more logical, easy way to pair and charge your Apple Pencil, and I feel like this is how Apple should have done it from the start. The only downside to this is because of the way that the placement is located of the connector, unfortunately, a lot of manufacturers have yet to create cases that are compatible with it, so you're going to have some issues finding cases that can actually support it. Now, some cases that do will, of course, be Apple's Smart Folio and Smart Keyboard cases, but those are rather expensive and I would say actually overpriced for what they are. But with that being said, if you really absolutely must have a case that allows you to charge your pencil, which I said in my unboxing video of the Smart Folio case that I kind of really wanted that ability, I ultimately did change my mind because I figured it was just overpriced for what that case was. I will have to just settle for now with taking off the case when I want to charge my Apple Pencil. Now, with all that being said, Apple has a couple issues on their hands in terms of an identity crisis and nickel and diming. Let's start with the identity crisis. What do I mean by that? Well, you look at their Mac lineup. It's a mess right now. MacBook Air, 12-inch MacBook, MacBook Pro. And then you look at the iPads. The iPad Pros are, most of it start at over $1,000, and they're pricing these things at an equivalent to their Macs, but yet they are not giving us the experience that we need to use these as laptop replacements. Because that's like, Apple is almost being a little bit passive aggressive here. They're saying, here, let's price these iPad Pros at Mac equivalent prices, but we're not going to give you a full laptop experience. We're not going to allow you to use a cursor. We're not going to allow you to connect external storage. And it just makes me so frustrated. I wish that Apple wouldn't play these baby games with us. You know, they're shaking their finger at us going, no, 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 don't you dare connect external storage. And it's like, it needs to stop. It honestly does. This is 2018 going into 2019, and Apple is still using the same little tired strategies that may have been great for years, but now it's time to evolve in their strategies. And one of it is, give us mouse support. Please, Apple. If somebody's watching this that is at Apple, I hope that maybe some of the larger tech reviewing sites will start to, say this often until Apple gets the hint. We want cursor support. We want to be able to use a mouse, whether it's a USB-C mouse or a wireless mouse, Bluetooth mouse, and just be able to use a cursor with our iPads. That would allow it to be a truly productive device. And I would argue it would be almost a full computer replacement then. But until then, of course, there's always that other issue of it's still not a desktop OS, but in the future, that can all be changed in software, and it can at least be a huge step in the right direction. Until then, it's still just an iPad. And if that's not the most defining statement I can make, I don't know what is. It's just an iPad. It's a better iPad. It's a massively better iPad in terms of design, in terms of Face ID, in terms of tap to wake, in terms of all these things that actually fundamentally change the user experience of this device. It's great, but it's still just an iPad. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it being a really high-end premium iPad. But the problem is, Apple's taking it a step further by saying, well, we'd like to turn it into a real professional laptop replacement. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, it has the power of almost a 15-inch MacBook Pro. So why not give us that ability to use this as a truly productive device? And yes, the Apple Pencil is great. The Smart Keyboard is, in my opinion, not so great, but it's there. You can do all those things, and it's still lacking that major thing that I think it needs. So those are the major criticisms that I have. And again, with the nickel and diming, it has to stop too, because we are at a time now where they continue to raise the prices. Apple kind of does this in cycles. And I have to give credit to Lisa over at Mobile Tech Review, because she said this in her video as well. Apple goes through cycles. Sometimes they'll try to lower the prices, and other times they'll just raise the prices and hope that people see the added value. And we're clearly in that cycle right now. But with that being said, Apple needs to understand, and at least I think this is how it is, that you can ask over $1,000 for an iPad Pro, but don't pretend that something is not. And with that being said, I hope you guys found this video useful. I will end it here for now. And I hope that this gave you some insight into, what iPad to buy, or at least, what you're thinking in terms of the iPad Pro. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. And if you like my content, please hit that subscribe button below and give this video a like.